the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the world, the finder of us who were lost, and the light giver to us, a people who are mentally dead in the grave of ignorance. We thank Allah for his coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. And I am eternally grateful to Allah for blessing the black man and woman of America with a divine leader, a divine teacher, and a divine guide in the personage of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. To you, my beloved brothers and sisters, I greet you with the greetings of peace. In the Arabic language, we say Assalamu alaikum, which means in English, peace be unto you. And to my many nationalist brothers and sisters, we say to you, Abarigani. To Brother Hannibal Afrique, to Brother Lou Palmer, to each and every one of you that are present tonight, it is a great honor for me to have been invited to be a part of the 8th anniversary of the Shule Ya Watoto. At a time when American education is in revolt against itself. At a time when in the city of Chicago, the city school teachers are in defiance of their court and remain on strike. And the city of Chicago school children are out of school. At a time when increased police presence must be necessary in every school in order for some kind of order to be there. At a time when students are attacking the teachers, permanently maiming some of them. At a time when students across the United States are even raping some of their teachers, or are being seduced by their teachers, both male and female. At a time when drugs are being passed not in high school, but in grammar school. At a time when the American educational system is at its wit's end to solve its problems, we meet here tonight to pay tribute to a black school, a school set up by black people who understand the necessity of our having our own school. For if a man would put his money in banks where thieves cannot get in to rob him or her of their wealth and substance, why should we put our children in the hands of our enemies to have their minds systematically destroyed? We have to answer for this. Some say it is against the law to keep our children at home. We must give our children education. And that is true. But Jesus said in the scriptures, you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. And if we can tell a tree by the fruit it bears, we can tell the worth and value of an educational system by the product that it produces. And if we examine the product of the white American educational system, there we find a damning indictment of the whole educational process in white America. So tonight, for the few moments that we shall be in front of you, we want to examine the American educational system. We want to examine the times and see whether the education that black people are being given from grade school to college is equipping us to seize the time or to face the hardships of this critical hour. And since the subject is advancing the liberation movement in the 1980s, we want to see whether the American educational system is equipping black people to advance the struggle for liberation, or is that educational system a deterrent to the struggle for liberation? My beloved brothers and sisters, have you considered, those of you who are 35 or 40 years old, that when we were coming along in school, everyone who graduated from grade school could read? Come on now, I want you to think. Maybe you don't want to admit that you're 35 or 40 or over. But let's reflect a moment. Have you noticed that when we got to high school, there were no black high school children who could not read the textbook? 30 years ago, we could read. 30 years later, there's a television documentary this past Sunday that stated that there are black college students who graduate from the universities who cannot read. Is this an accident, or is this by design? We must ask ourselves this question. How many of you remember they used to give us IQ tests? I don't know whether they still do. Do they? Very good. They say that IQ stands for intelligence quotient. Do you remember that those in our classrooms that had the highest IQ, ask yourself, where are they now? How many brothers and sisters do you know that had the highest intelligence who are achievers at this moment in history? Where are they? They're all gone. Where are they gone? Some have died from an overdose of drugs. Some are languishing in prison. Some sisters have turned into prostitutes, but yet they had the highest intelligence in the class. Those of us that are making it today and impacting on black America, if you check our background, we were the mediocre intelligence of the classroom. Where is the cream of the crop? And what kind of educational system does America have that kills the best that black people have to offer? We got to ask ourselves, is this an accident or is this by design? And if this happened 35 years ago, 40 years ago, Is it happening at this very moment? Yes, it is. Will you ask yourself the question, how could America be technologically wise enough to go to the moon, send a contraption in space to picture Mars, and visit the far planet, sending back information to Earth, and we can't send our children to school, and they bring back information out of a book? Brothers and sisters, this is not an accident. This didn't just happen. We maintain it is by design. The white people of this country know that education, properly utilized, is the torchlight of civilization. And if the black man of America is equally educated to white people, he will demand the same thing that white people have. So equal education will bring about a desire for equality, and a desire for equality will bring blacks into constant clashes with whites. So what do? You feed into the education a systematic poison that, instead of turning the students on to higher motivation for learning, as they get older, you turn them off. If you look, brothers and sisters, your young male children who are black, they may have started off in school brilliant. By the time they're at the 4th grade, you begin to see a regression. Your girl children moving ahead steadily, but your male children backing up, so that by the time they get out of high school, the young 16-year-old high school girls are much more advanced intellectually, emotionally, psychologically than the young boys. And so these young girls are looking for old men, because young men their age have nothing to offer them. Is this an accident, or is this by design? When we were coming along, we went to school, and the first grade that we went into was called the kindergarten. Those are two German words, kinder and garten. Kinder means the children. Garden is a fertile, delightful spot for the planting of seeds. I ask you, what kind of seeds were sown in our minds in the kindergarten? And if you can't recognize the seeds, look at the full-grown product of what was sown, and they'll tell you what was sown in your mind 30 years ago, 15 years ago, 40 years ago. So now you're a grown man and a grown woman and can't do nothing for yourself but sit and beg the white man to do everything for us. That's an indictment against the white American educational system. Let's go back to kindergarten for a moment. When you go to kindergarten, they begin telling us nursery rhymes that have no place in the world of reality. They're beginning to feed young minds with unreal thoughts, cats talking, mice thinking and planning, lions talking. It's only natural then that you would grow up and read the Bible and think that a serpent spoke to Eve, because you've been fed unreality from the time you came on the planet. So what is a little more unreality? So now you believe you're going to heaven after you're dead, because you've been trained to be a fool from the time you were put in school. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Goldilocks and Snow White. There it is. Check the seed out. Black mother, black father. Why your little black children go to school and feel ashamed of you and wonder why they were born black in this world. It's some kind of crime to be born black because they were nursed on Snow White, and they know they're not snow nor white. And they know certainly that they don't have any Goldilocks. In fact, some of them know they have no locks at all. When poor little brother and poor little sister realize that their hair is so short you can't twist it with a tweezer, then they get upset and wondering whether God had made a mistake. And then, of course, they painted the picture for us of little black Sambo. You don't ever have to worry about blacks going into Sambo's restaurant, because we've had such a bad experience with little black Sambo. Anything that reminds us of that, we drive right on by it. Now you say, oh, come on, man. I thought you were going to give us a heavy lecture. You don't need nothing heavy. It's the light stuff that has killed you. By the time you grow just a little, you begin to realize that your blackness has caused you to feel inferior. You're not Dick and you're not Jane. Every time you look in your Dick and Jane book, you see white boy, white girl doing white things in a white world, and you wonder, where do you fit? And from the time you've been feeding your mind, or your mind has been fed, you've been trying to find your place in an alien world. And you grow a little bit older, just a little bit, and they're ready now to tell you about Santa Claus. And who is Santa Claus, dear little young student? He's the big fat white man that comes every 24th of December bringing toys to the little kiddies. And all year long, poor mom and poor dad scuffling, pinching money off the welfare check, doing everything that they can to try and give the child a decent Christmas. And then they turn around and give the credit to Santa Claus, painting the picture in your unsuspecting child's growing mind that if you want something, don't ask your black mother for it. Don't ask black daddy for it. Ask a white man, because only the white man can give you what you want. And that's what the whole picture of Santa Claus is feeding your child. And that's why in 1980, here we are, 30 million black people with more education than any other black people anywhere to be found on earth, but we produce nothing that we consume, even to the toilet paper that we use. Huh? Is this by accident, or is this by design? By the time they finish with you in kindergarten, up to the 3rd grade, 4th grade, you begin reading a little history. That's the first time you find yourself. And where were you? In slavery. Who wants to look at themselves in a mirror as a slave? You say, man, ever since I've been looking at myself, I ain't been seeing nothing. Now I finally find my place, and here I am, toting white folks' barge, lifting their bail, getting too drunk and staying in jail. Now what is this sowing in your heart and in your mind? It's sowing in the heart and in the minds of black children the seed of self-rejection, self-hatred. So by the time you're a young boy or a young girl, you walk the street feeling that nobody wants you, nobody loves you, nobody cares, and then worst of all, you get the Spirit and you don't care yourself. So when you look at something black like yourself, you look at something else that don't nobody care for, don't nobody love, don't nobody want. So it's easy to knock a black man down, easy to shoot another black man, easy to cut another black man or woman, because you've been trained to do that from the kindergarten right on up to 1980. Is this by accident or is this by design? Now, you're ready for church. And you go to church, and the other arm of the racist system begins to go to work. School has done its job. Law has done its job. Now religion must do its job. Are you against religion, Brother Farrakhan? No, sir. No, ma'am. No, I'm not. But I'm against anything that enslaves the mind of a human being and causes that mind to look inward with hatred against itself. By the time we finish a subtle education in religion, we are looking up to a Jesus who is white. Now you know they didn't have cameras 2,000 years ago. So if they got a picture of the Lord, they got it out of their mind. Is that right? Now, since they who are our teachers are white, they see the Lord in their own eyes, from their own perspective, but then they put that on you. Because you wasn't preaching no Christianity. For 300 years as a slave, they wouldn't allow our fathers to even read the Bible. And when they allowed us to read the Bible, the only thing that we were permitted to preach was, remember now, tell them, if we smite them on one cheek, turn the other. Pray for those that despitefully use you. If they ask you to go 1 mile, go 2. And remember, don't steal none of your master's corn. Not his chicken, nothing that is the master's. Be good, slave, and obey your master. That was the early preaching of the early preachers. And so the early preachers always had favor with the white man, as they do today, as long as they preach the white man's doctrine and not the doctrine of Jesus. Now you hear this? There's a whole world of difference between Jesus' doctrine and what is being preached in the churches today. I want you to know and understand this, brother and sister. If Jesus opened the eyes of the blind, made the deaf hear, the dumb speak, the lame walk, cleansed the leper, and raised the dead to life, and you got the same message in the church today that Jesus taught 2,000 years ago, how come you got eyes and can't see? How come you got ears and can't hear, got a tongue and can't speak? You got hands and they don't work for you. They don't fight for you. They don't feel for you. All that you have, you give it to your enemy and nothing to yourself. If you got the same message that Jesus had and gave 2,000 years ago, he would never have to say, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You would be free right now if you had the true message of Jesus. But my beloved brothers and sisters, the same white man that brought our fathers into slavery was not going to give us Jesus' message. Just like today, if you don't watch, they'll give you oleo and make you think it's butter. They'll give you a concentrate and say that's the real orange juice. They're masters of synthetics. And they've given you a synthetic education, synthetic religion. And we today, under synthetic education, synthetic religion, synthetic politics, synthetic law, live a synthetic false life. You're not real people anymore. You're false people. You skin and grin. You showboat and you act But when are you and I going to be real men, real women, real people with real love and concern for one another? That will never happen until you get real education, real knowledge. Now you are ready to go to college. You just got through high school. Now watch how the sisters get through. Black women, they got to study the Caucasians' teachings to get by. They don't have athletic scholarships, because the big money in college is football and basketball, some track. Only just recently they began giving females scholarships. So anytime a woman went to college, she had to have it up here. Now think, brother. We get in college, every one of us that went to college, just about all of us, we got there playing sports. And in all the colleges that I have been blessed to visit around this country, brothers and sisters, do you know that the black students that are there are tricked into these universities under these scholarships, and these white coaches tell them, look, don't get into no hard courses. I brought you here, Sam, to play football. I brought you here, Sam, to play basketball. Look, nigga, run. Run, nigga, run. And we'll get you through school. And here you are, bad as you want to be on the football field, but you got a phys ed background. When I say phys ed, I mean that's the course you're in. By the time you get out of college, they've used you up. Your knee is bad from basketball and football. They lie to you and make you think you're going to be a draft choice for the NBA or the American Football Conference. Only a few can make that. And so what happens to your life after you get out of college and can't read? Who cares about you? You just out there now with a college degree that don't mean anything. You got it on your wall. Somebody, that's my degree. Hell, a degree on the wall is not a degree at all, brother. Your degree don't belong on the wall. Your degree belongs into the practical application of the knowledge that you are supposed to have learned to free yourself and your people. But you don't do that. How many of you can really say you're educated with a doctorate degree? You're sick and you need a doctor. What kind of education is this, brother, sister, that you and I are getting? An education that does not train character while it trains the intellect. Don't you know if you're a liar with a PhD degree, you're just a lying PhD? I mean, think about how cheap that is. I got me a PhD degree and I'm a stone liar. Here are people getting master degrees and are sissy. I mean, think about this. How can something be truly educating you and not giving you strong morals to live by, principles to guide your life by? Life is run on principles. The success of life is built on adherence to certain immutable laws and principles. But you can quote out of the book, oh Socrates, oh Plato, oh Aristotle. Go ahead and quote, Sam. But that doesn't build character. We can't trust each other. That's why there's no business ventures with partners that stand up, because we don't know how to cooperate with one another. And if we don't know how to cooperate with each other, but ants cooperate, bees cooperate, birds birds cooperate. Everything in the universe cooperates, but the black man has no will, no mind, no spirit to cooperate. What kind of education have you received?